my friends, today's news is truly shocking. I think in recent days everyone saw this statement claiming that Putin was supposedly unwell and had a heart attack. Then all Russians began shouting that he attends all meetings and he's perfectly fine. But of course, we will understand that he likely attends those meetings with a body double. However, last night, in many sources, information emerged that there is a coup in Russia because Putin passed away during the night.
Attention! At the moment, there is an attempted coup d'état in Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin died tonight at his residence in Vuhledar. At 20:42 p.m. Moscow time, the doctors stopped resuscitation and pronounced him dead. Now the doctors are blocked in the room with Putin's corpse. They are being held by employees of the Presidential Security Service on the personal order of Dmitry Koknev, who is in touch and receives instructions from the Secretary of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, Nikolai Patrushev. The security of the president's double has been strengthened. Active negotiations are underway. Any attempt to pass off a double as president after Putin's death is a coup d'état.
Honestly, many of us would like to believe that this day has come and we can say that Putin is done. However, if this indeed true and not another fake, there are no guarantees that the body double won't continue to play the role of Putin to buy time for certain individuals to plunder the country. In general, the information is very interesting, especially if it's true. So we're waiting for the updates. And what do you think about this? Is it worth believing this report from Russian sources? Okay, meanwhile, the battles on the entire front line continue and are even intensifying. It seems that the significant losses suffered by the Russians are not stopping them. Even John Kirby stated that Russia has incurred substantial losses since October 11th. Specifically, a minimum of 125 armored vehicles in the Avdiivka area. However, the Russians have a surplus of this scrap metal, so the attacks persist. So remember the video where they decided to advance with the old Soviet gas vehicles. The point is that it doesn't imply that Russia lacks more modern equipment. It may be in short supply, but they need to dispose of large stockpiles of old equipment over 50 years old. So they actively engage in this and they have a base human resource, so they continue their mobilization. But before we continue, I'd like to remind you to share this video on social media and watch it to the end. It greatly helps promote my channel. Thank you. Now let's begin the frontline situation update, starting with the Avdiivka direction, where the most intense battles are taking place. The Russians are exerting all efforts to expand their southern flank and advance toward Orlivka. This is their primary objective because by cutting off the road that passes through the village, they can block access to Avdiivka. Consequently, several Russian groups are constantly pushing forward, launching dozens of attacks on Ukrainian positions every day. Concurrently, battles are ongoing near the southern outskirts of Avdiivka. On the northern flank, the occupiers are attempting to move simultaneously in two directions to bypass the coking chemical plant and encircle it. This would create extremely challenging conditions for defending the area around the plant. Furthermore, it will bring them very close to the main road from the city, making it more difficult for Ukrainian forces to move toward the city. Therefore, everything is being done today to prevent further Russian advances. So far, in a day, the front line remains unchanged, and the most challenging battles continue. Despite the substantial forces deployed to encircle Avdiivka, the Russians persist in their attempts to push Ukrainian forces out of the Makiivka area and advance toward Novomykhailivka. There have been no changes in the situation in this direction over the past day, but it remains tense. In the Bakhmut direction, unfortunately, the occupiers are gradually gaining the initiative. Over the past few weeks, we've seen a halt in Ukrainian advances aimed at encircling the city. Presently, battles continue in the Klishchiivka and Avdiivka areas. Additionally, they are attempting to advance on the northern flank, assaulting Ukrainian positions near Kherson to obstruct the Ukrainian armed forces' plans to encircle the city. Despite daily statements from some sources regarding breakthroughs by Ukrainian forces near Bakhmut, the front line remains unchanged. Soldiers on the ground report that there is a significant presence of occupiers and they are actively using artillery against Ukrainian positions. In the Siversk direction, this situation also remains unchanged. There is shelling in the area, but no new offensive actions are being observed. In the Kremenna area, the occupiers are entrenched in positions across the fields, but are unable to break through Ukrainian defenses near Makiivka. The initial objective for Ukrainian forces here was to the crossroads near Makiivka, but in a day there have been no changes along the front line. The attacks have halted and only shelling continues in the Nevelske area. Perhaps they will attempt to break through to this village now. In the Svatove direction, the occupiers have suffered significant losses and have once again come to a halt. There are minimal shelling and no more attacks are being conducted. But in the Kupiansk direction, the situation is more complex, with increased pressure along the entire front line. The main battles are taking place for Senkivka and attacks are ongoing near Ivanivske. However, the offensive actions near Petropavlivka have failed and no new attacks are reported there for now. Near Ivanivske, they have already entered the gray zone and moved into the liberated territory. So, it should be acknowledged that they have tactical successes. But, like before, they are unable to make significant progress and the front line remains unchanged. In the Vuhledar direction, the Ukrainian armed forces have successfully repelled all attacks. Once again, the Russians have suffered significant losses and the front line remains unchanged. However, shelling continues and they are currently regrouping, preparing for new attacks. In the Zaporizhia direction, according to official statements by the Ukrainian armed forces, a counteroffensive towards Melitopol continues. However, unfortunately, the front line remains unchanged over the past day. The occupiers periodically resume their advances in the Vuhledar area and heavily shell the entire front line. At the same time, the Ukrainian armed forces continue to strike in the enemy's rear, and late yesterday evening there were reports of new explosions in Bakhmut. In the Kherson direction, shelling persists along the entire front line. The Ukrainian side hasn't confirmed any offensive actions for now, but the occupiers claim that the Ukrainian forces are advancing and that they are repelling these attacks, so we'll have to wait and see how the situation unfolds, but the front line remains unchanged. The recently appointed Prime Minister of Slovakia, Robert Fico, has stated that he will not support further military assistance to Ukraine and will not endorse additional sanctions against Russia at the European Union summit, as reported by Slovak media. He says, "I believe that this decision is strategically unwise. Among other things, it may lead to the Russian military presence near the European Union borders."
No more arms deliveries to Ukraine. Slovakia's new Prime Minister Robert Fico announced the move on Thursday after he was sworn in by President Zuzana Chaputova. Bratislava will also limit, quote, humanitarian and civil aid to its neighbour. This is the left-wing populist's fourth term as premier.
Budete počuť zo slovenskej vlády, zo slovenských ministerstiev suverénny slovenský hlas. Budete vidieť vykonávanie suverénnej slovenskej zahraničnej politiky.
Fico formed a parliamentary majority after joining ranks with the leftist Voice Alliance and the pro-Russian Slovak National Party. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen congratulated Fico on his appointment on the social media platform X, stressing we need a strong Slovakia, especially one that supports Ukraine. Analysts predict the country will steer closer to the nationalist policies of Hungary and become increasingly Eurosceptic. Fico is expected at an EU summit in Brussels later this week.
And that's all for now, so don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.